Welcome back to the GovCon Show. Another episode has been cleared for public release, but just barely. Today, we're talking about assumptions. Not the big dramatic assumptions, not the kind people write on a slide and present with all that confidence. I mean the quiet assumptions, the ones that are buried inside your price, the ones that nobody talks about because everybody thinks they're so obvious. We're talking about the ones hiding under phrases like, well, we assumed the customer would provide that data. We assumed standard travel applied, or we assumed the period of performance was realistic. Wonderful. Congratulations. You assumed. And you know what Grandma used to say about assuming. And under fixed price, assumptions are not background noise. They are risk. Because once you agree to the price, those assumptions stop being casual thoughts and they become the foundation holding up the whole deal. And if your foundation is weak, unclear, undocumented, or built on optimism and a prayer, well, then you shouldn't be shocked when the contract starts leaning. That is this episode. Your assumptions are hiding in the price. If you don't find them before the period of performance starts, performance will find them for you.
This broadcast has been cleared for public release, but just barely.
Broadcasting from deep inside the Federal Acquisition Labyrinth, this is the GovCon Show. This show is for acquisition pros, wannabe pros, and procurement insiders who need a place to unpack the chaos. We speak fluent contracting and sarcasm. No clearance required. This is the GovCon Show. And away we go!
Hey guys, welcome back to the GovCon Show. This is the show that provides therapy for the overworked, the overregulated, and the underappreciated. It's not a webinar, it's not a lecture. It's a show where we break down the realities behind federal contracting. You know, the pressure, the responsibilities, and the decisions that actually matter. Here, nothing is off limits. We've seen it all and we talk about it. We talk about it with a little sarcasm and just enough attitude to keep it real. Like I said earlier, in today's episode, we're talking about assumptions, but particularly why assumptions matter more under fixed price arrangements. Because under fixed price, the danger is not only the number, it's what's hiding inside the number. All of those assumptions. Every fixed price offer has them. Some are written, some are implied, and others are living in somebody's head wearing a tiny little hard hat and hoping that nobody asks any questions because they are there. The price assumes a scope. It assumes a schedule and a labor mix. It probably assumes a level of effort with travel and ODCs and materials. It assumes everything that has to go right for the price to make sense. That is why fixed price is so unforgiving. Because when those assumptions are wrong or misguided, the contract usually doesn't stop and say, oh, bless your heart, would you like to revisit the business model? No. The contract says, hate it, bud, you agreed to the price. And there it is. Cold, simple, rude. You agreed to the price. The problem I see many of my clients doing is treating the price just like it was a number. It's not. A price is a conclusion. It is the result of all your assumptions, your estimates, and sometimes an executive saying, hey, can we sharpen the pencil? Which is a lovely phrase if your goal is to stab your profits with stationery, you know? The price is not just what you charge, It's what you believe the work will require. It's what you believe the labor will cost you and the materials will cost you. And under fixed price, those beliefs actually matter. Because your price is where all those beliefs become financial commitments. So when someone says, we can do it for this price, the real question, based on what assumptions? And that question shouldn't be treated like negativity. The question should be welcomed into the room, given coffee, and encouraged to take a seat at the conference room table. Because if your price cannot explain its assumptions, your price is not mature. It's just confident. And confident is good. It's actually adorable until the subcontractor misses a delivery, or travel costs double, or the customer decides that we need a timely review, means sometimes before the next solar eclipse. Assumptions are not dangerous because they exist. Assumptions are absolutely necessary. You cannot price anything without making assumptions. But that process is the dangerous part, that process of pricing those assumptions. You probably are wondering, what do I mean by those hidden assumptions? What I mean is I'm talking about those unstated assumptions, those unshared assumptions, those assumptions that are unchallenged, the kind everyone thinks everyone else understands. And they're the ones that create the problems for you. Because when performance starts, those hidden assumptions are now expectations. And those expectations become friction. And friction becomes an email chain. And email chains become meetings. And then meetings becomes, well, let's get contracts involved. And now we're all standing around the smoking remains of an assumption that we should have dealt with 3 months ago. Let's look at an example. For example, the contractor assumed the government would provide data within 5 business days. But the government assumed the contractor would proceed without it. The prime assumed the subcontractor priced all of the materials, but the subcontractor assumed the materials would be handled separately. Nobody lied. Nobody woke up and chose chaos today. They just never forced the assumptions into the daylight. And that's how fixed price pain starts. Very politely, very quietly, with everyone believing their version was obvious to everybody else. Let me be clear. Everybody knew what we meant is not a contracting strategy. It's the opening sentence of a future dispute. So, let's start with the biggest one, your scope. Scope assumptions are everywhere. Companies think that the work means one thing. The customer assumes it means something much broader. The programs assume support includes a little extra help. But contracts assumes anything extra will be handled through a change control mod. And the subcontractor assumes the prime has read the actual requirement. That's a bold move. Under fixed price, scope assumptions are very dangerous because they define what you are agreeing to perform for the price. If the scope is vague, the price is very vulnerable. If the deliveries are unclear, then the price is vulnerable. If the team says we know what they mean, stop. That is not clarity. A good fixed price posture requires the company to ask, well, what's included? What's excluded? What are we assuming about customer support or access to data? Those questions matter because under fixed price, the scope is not just a description. It's the boundary around your profits. Now let's talk about those cost assumptions we've been alluding to. This is where optimism likes to sneak into the spreadsheet wearing business casual. Labor rates, labor mixes, productivity rates, travel, materials, escalation, all of those are assumptions. And if your company has been living in cost type T&M or labor hour environments, some of those assumptions may not have been treated harshly at all. Travel comes up, okay, handle it when it's needed. Materials change, no problem. We'll handle it in a funding mod. Travel comes up, handle it when needed. Materials change, we'll address it when we have the actual cost. But fixed price is different. Now those costs need to be anticipated, priced, protected, or excluded. And in today's uncertain economic condition, that gets so much harder. Supplier prices are moving. Material availability changes. Travel costs fluctuate. And the labor market is constantly shifting. People are getting more expensive. The hotel near the customer site suddenly costs the same as a mortgage payment. And your fixed price just sits there, there's nothing you can do about it. So don't bury those cost assumptions. Name them, point them out, test them. Ask whether they're current and realistic. Ask if they're supported. Are they tied to anything that the contractor can control? Because if your price assumes a calm world and performance happens in the real world, well, the real world is always going to win that battle. It usually does, because it has lawyers. Scheduler assumptions are another quite killer. A fixed price effort often assumes that things will happen in a certain sequence. The customer will approve something by a certain date. Data will arrive on time. The subcontractor is going to deliver. Milestones will be accepted. And then the next phase will begin. That's very organized. We could possibly even color code it. But what happens when the schedule slips? Who owns that delay? Who pays for the additional effort? Does the contractor get more time or money? All this matters because under fixed price, time is priced risk. A late report may not just be a late report. It would probably delay a review, and delayed reviews can delay acceptance. If acceptance is delayed, that's probably going to delay your payment. And a delayed payment's probably going to hurt your cash flow. And cash flow problems have a way of making everyone suddenly very interested in the details, the contract terms, all those that they should have read months earlier. So when you price fixed price work, don't just ask, can we do the work? Ask, can we do the work on this schedule, assuming these dependencies with these milestones and these acceptance points? That's what you need to be asking. Because schedule assumptions are not calendar decorations. They are part of your fixed price. Another point we need to discuss is the customer. Carefully now, because customer relationships truly matter. But so does reality. Many fixed price efforts depend on things the contractor does not control. Government furnished information, for example, or government furnished property, or the customer's approval, or access to facilities, or timely processing of security clearances, data availability, timely feedback. If your performance depends on your customer's actions, that dependency has to be visible, not assumed. Not everybody understands. It has to be visible. Because if the government controls an input and the contractor accepts responsibility for the output, there better be protection when the input does not arrive on time. Otherwise, the contractor is accepting the responsibility for a result it could not fully control. And that's not accountability. That's sort of contract yoga, and not the healthy kind. Customer dependency assumptions should be written clearly. If we receive X by this date, we can do Y by that date. If customers' reviews takes longer the next days, then the schedule moves. If access is delayed, performance is delayed. And that's not being difficult. That is making the deal administratable, right? Man, that is not a sexy word. But some say it's a beautiful one. Now, if you're a prime contractor, listen closely. Your assumptions about your subcontractors can wreck your fixed price position. You may assume the subcontractor understood the requirement, and you can assume that their quote includes all the materials. You probably are going to assume that they can meet the schedule. You're going to assume that their terms match the risk you accepted from the government. That's a lot of assuming, and assumptions are cheaper than consequences. Well, at least at first. If the prime accepts fixed price risk, but leaves the subcontractor relationship very vague or conditional, then the prime owns that gap. The government expects performance from the prime, and the subcontractor says, well, that was not our quote. And now the prime is standing in the middle like the disappointed parent of a custody exchange. It's not ideal. Your subcontract assumptions need to be tested. Is their proposal binding enough? Are flowdowns aligned? Are acceptance standards consistent? Does the subcontractor understand the performance metrics? If not, you are not on the same page. You're just hoping that everyone disappoints you at the same time. So at least the schedule is consistent. Now, I got to be honest. This is one of the issues that caused us at GovCon Advisory Group to build our fixed price conversion risk assessment tool. Because fixed price risk often hides in the assumptions. All those assumptions that we've been talking about. And if those assumptions are not clearly identified before you say yes, well, they don't disappear. They move into the contract, and they move into your performance. They move into your profits. And before you know it, they have moved into a meeting where someone says, how did this happen? And usually the answer is, we assumed. Our fixed price risk assessment tool is designed to help contractors evaluate whether the work is truly ready for fixed price treatment well before they accept risks that they cannot control. Just go to our website at govconadvisorygroup.com and look for the fixed price conversion risk assessment. Because before you accept the price, you need to understand the assumptions that are hiding inside of it. Okay, let's bring this episode home. Your assumptions are hiding in the price. And under fixed price, that truly matters. Because the price is not a number. It's a commitment. A commitment built on beliefs about scope, cost, schedule, subcontractor performance, and a million other things. Some of those beliefs may be solid. Some of them are very fragile, and some are completely unsupported, but they're delivered with impressive confidence. And confidence is not the same as being ready. So before you say yes to fixed price work, ask the hard questions. What are we assuming? Who knows it? Where is that written? And what happens if the assumptions are wrong? Can you actually manage it? Because the worst assumption is not the one that turns out to be wrong. The worst assumption is the one nobody admits they made. And that's how fixed price contracts get very expensive. They're not always because the contract was bad, and not always because the customer was unreasonable. And it's not always because the team failed. Sometimes it's just because the price was carrying assumptions nobody bothered to drag into the light. So drag them into the light before your performance does it for you. Guys, that wraps up this episode. And if it hit a little close to home, good, that probably means it's useful to you. Please like it and share it with somebody in government contracting who thinks fixed price contracting is fast and easy. Please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. This has been the GovCon Show. And yes, this one was approved for public release, but just barely.
If today's episode sounded a little too familiar, that's probably a sign. Until next time, keep your files tight, your logic tighter. Remember, if your compliance approach is built on checking boxes, you're building risk. We'll see you next time on the GovCon Show.
This broadcast has been cleared for public release, but just barely.